Emotional intelligence hacks you can use today. I used to think I was emotionally intelligent because I didn't yell, because I could smile through stress, because people said I was calm under pressure. But inside, I was a mess. I didn't understand why some conversations left me drained, why I kept falling into the same conflicts, or why I felt so invisible in certain rooms. Emotional intelligence isn't about being nice. It's about being aware, and sometimes that awareness hurts. You know that moment when someone says something small but it hits like a punch? That's not about the words. That's about an old wound being touched. Emotional intelligence means catching that moment, not after you explode or shut down, but right when it happens. Most people don't. They react and then regret. But the damage is done. You can't unsay silence. You can't undo a raised voice. And every time you miss that window, the loop repeats. The first real hack isn't breathing or journaling. It's noticing. Just that. Noticing the exact second when your body tenses. That's the cue. That's the fork in the road. Most of us don't even register it. We skip straight to reaction. But if you can train yourself to pause, even for half a breath, you've changed the game. You've exited autopilot. That's where power starts. Because emotions aren't the enemy. They're intel. And if you're numb, or always fine, you're flying blind. Emotional intelligence is street smart skills turned inward, reading yourself like you try to read people. And here's where human nature psychology kicks in. We don't just feel things randomly. Every emotional spike is a signal. Fear means, I feel unsafe. Anger says, I feel threatened or disrespected. Guilt whispers, I betrayed something I care about. But we rarely decode it that clearly. Instead, we internalize manipulation tactics from parents, school, bosses, and start gaslighting ourselves. It's not a big deal. I'm too sensitive. I should be over this. Emotional intelligence is ripping those scripts apart and writing new ones based on truth, not shame. And you start to see the power dynamics in every interaction. Who interrupts? Who never gets interrupted? Who always asks the questions? And who's always answering them? These micro moves expose social hierarchy better than any org chart. Learning how to read people isn't about being slick. It's about survival. It's about walking into a room and knowing who's the puppet, who's the puppeteer, and who's invisible. Because if you don't see the game, you're the piece. Muta 1 taught me this. Survival mindset doesn't mean paranoia, it means precision. It's realizing that being nice in a manipulative room isn't virtue, it's vulnerability. Emotional intelligence means knowing when your empathy is being used against you. When your silence is interpreted as consent. When your understanding is enabling dysfunction. You're not here to be liked. You're here to win in life, on your own terms. And that doesn't mean dominating others. It means not being dominated unconsciously. Emotional intelligence helps you spot when someone's pushing your buttons. And more importantly, why you still have those buttons. That's the deep work. The uncomfortable truth is, every manipulation that works on us is working through a wound we haven't healed. You can't be manipulated through what you've made peace with. There was a time I kept attracting the same kind of boss, charming, vague, emotionally unavailable, but who made me feel like I had to prove myself. Once I saw the pattern, I traced it back. It wasn't about them. It was about the internalized need to earn love, to be useful. That's how emotional intelligence and shadow work collide. You realize most of what you call life problems or emotional survival patterns running in the background. In office politics, this plays out hard. You think it's about who's competent. Think again. It's who reads the room, who reads power, who reads people. The most emotionally intelligent person isn't always the loudest or most social. It's the one who knows when to speak and when to vanish. The one who makes people feel seen but reveals nothing they don't want to. That's not cold. That's clarity. And game theory in real life? Emotional intelligence is your best advantage. Because if you understand the invisible rules, who needs to feel superior, who's threatened by challenge, who plays dumb to avoid accountability, you stop trying to win the wrong battles. You position instead of push. You redirect instead of resist. You conserve energy for moves that matter. Let me give you something brutal. Emotional intelligence is often born from pain. The most socially sharp people I know weren't born gifted. They were shaped in homes where survival meant reading every twitch in a parent's face. It's a skill forged in tension. But that's the gift. What once kept you safe can now make you powerful if you use it with awareness. Ever notice how some people drain you after 10 minutes? It's not random. That's your nervous system picking up on emotional labor you're being forced to do. You're managing their mood, their silence, their passive aggression, and calling it being supportive. Emotional intelligence lets you catch that and say, this isn't mine to carry. But to get there, you have to unlearn what school, culture, even therapy sometimes teaches. That being emotionally aware means being endlessly tolerant. No, boundaries are emotional intelligence. Saying, this makes me uncomfortable, is emotional intelligence. Walking away from what disrespects you, without needing to justify it, is emotional intelligence. There's a moment in every interaction where you either self-abandon, or you stay with yourself. Most of us don't notice that moment until it's past. But once you learn to spot it, you'll start to win battles no one sees. Because real power isn't dominance, it's emotional clarity. And it always starts with catching the moment before the mask goes on, before the smile covers the anger, before the joke hides the hurt, before the nod buries the no. That's the real battlefield, not outside, inside. And it's wild how many people never make it there. They live entire lives reacting, adapting, people-pleasing, exploding, suppressing, never realizing they're playing out emotional loops that started decades ago. That's not freedom. That's being ruled by ghosts. Emotional intelligence is learning to exorcise them. Gently, but firmly. The scary part? Once you see it, you can't unsee it. You'll watch conversations differently. You'll hear the subtext louder than the words. You'll start catching your own autopilot responses. The smile that hides fear, the silence that covers rage, the over-explaining that masks shame. And suddenly, social survival skills stop being about fitting in, and start being about staying true. This isn't about becoming invincible. It's about becoming responsible, for your own energy, your own signals, your own triggers. It's realizing that nobody makes you feel anything without your nervous system's permission. And once you own that, you stop giving away power just to avoid conflict. You start choosing discomfort over disconnection. And you see the games for what they are. The coworker who always plays the victim. Power move. The harmless gossip. Positioning play. The flattery before a request. Classic manipulation tactic. This doesn't make you cynical, it makes you conscious. Emotional intelligence doesn't strip compassion. It refines it. You know who's suffering and who's using their suffering to dominate. You stop rescuing those who don't want to change. It's brutal honesty, but it's also freedom. Because once you stop playing everyone else's game, you can finally play your own. Not reacting out of fear, but responding out of clarity. Not saying yes to be liked, but saying no to stay whole. That's the shift from being managed by emotion to mastering it. Not suppressing, not exploding, just noticing, decoding, choosing. And when it comes to how to win in life, this is the edge. Not charm, not degrees, not hustle. Emotional intelligence. The ability to read the undercurrents while others are still distracted by the surface. To know who's emotionally honest and who's performing it. To walk into any room and feel what's being said without words. That's street smart, but deeper. It's social hierarchy explained in real time. Most of what we call office politics tips are just emotional patterns wrapped in professional clothing. Who feels inferior? Who compensates by controlling others? Who acts like a team player but is quietly pulling strings? If you don't see it, you'll get played by it. If you do, you can move through it, gracefully, even powerfully. The truth is, most people aren't aware of their own emotional states, let alone others. So when you are, even a little, you become different. Not louder, not more emotional, just more precise. You don't waste time arguing with emotion-driven logic. You redirect it. You don't confront ego directly, you disarm it with insight. That's emotional judo. And it works, but it all starts in silence. Not with a strategy, not with a tip or trick. With that one quiet moment where you say, something just shifted in me. What was it? You rewind, you feel, you listen, you name it, and in that tiny moment, you reclaim something you didn't know you'd lost, your center. And from there, you get to choose. Do I speak or stay silent? Do I lean in or step back? Do I reveal or protect? And every choice comes not from defense, but from power. Quiet, calm, anchored power. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything. The kind that wins without fighting. Most people chase external hacks, scripts, tactics, tricks. But emotional intelligence? That's the ultimate internal hack. And once you feel it working, once you see someone trying to guilt trip you, and you just don't bite, it's addictive. You'll want that clarity in every space. Not to manipulate others, but to stop being manipulated. And maybe that's the deeper truth. Emotional intelligence isn't about managing feelings. It's about liberation from them. Not in a cold, detached way, but in a raw, human, real way. You still feel everything, but you don't become it. You learn to hold space for your anger without exploding, to carry your sadness without collapsing, to recognize your envy without hating yourself. And maybe, just maybe, you start becoming someone others look to, not because you have answers, but because you have presence. Because you're not just reacting to life anymore. You're choosing it. But here's the catch. The deeper you go, the more alone it feels. Because you'll start seeing what others miss. You'll sense the fakeness in a room before anyone speaks. You'll catch manipulation dressed as charm. And you'll have to decide, do I play along, or do I hold my ground? That's where it gets real. That's where the game changes. And that's where most people flinch.